Testing. I think I'm live. Live. Never know. Nobody knows about this. Coming on here for a quick Oscar 2024 reaction. I shouldn't do this. I just released a video today on Sideways, Alexander Payne's movie from a long time ago, maybe 20 years. You know, a classic Oscar movie. And here he is again with the holdovers in 2024. And there was at least one award from it that I've seen. I had a person in the comments of the Sideways video ask me for an Oscar reaction video. So I guess I do that even though I did an Oscar, what was it? Not a prediction video, but my choice for winners a few weeks ago via live stream. So anyway, here's my reactions to the Oscars. And, you know, I'm an old guy. I have other things to do. I did not watch it. I'm told the broadcast was of old. It was better than it's been previously. Maybe, maybe not. I've been doing, by the way, a revisionism Oscars series. I've gone through the 1980s, and I'm releasing videos on what should have won Best Picture. I think I'm up through 1984 or 5, and I've done videos all the way up to 1991 that are going to be released over the year. And I am not an Oscar guy, period, as far as an award that means something long-term. I think it's a short-term award. I don't mean this in a negative way. It is a marketing scheme, and this is to promote Hollywood, which it needs to do. It's actors showcasing them, it's productions, the movies themselves. So I think other awards are a little bit better at predicting long-term movies that last long-term than the Oscars. So if I were to vote for the Oscars, I would try that rather than what's popular or who I'd want to win because I like them kind of thing. I think some of that is always going to be the case with the Oscars. As a reaction video, I think I was somewhat pleased with the winners. I don't really, I wonder in 20 to 50 years, will people care or not? Or will they look back at this and think it was a joke? I don't think so, but I'm not sure. So if we look at the Best Picture, clearly what's happened to me. I'm a conspiracy theorist, not really. I like them, but I think about things that way. I think groups of people get together and vote on people they like or people who have done well for them. And I think Nolan gets an award here. Oppenheimer, to me, it's not his best movie. It has some flaws. I don't see it as his best, but this is probably like a Scorsese thing where Scorsese wins for The Departed. I love that movie. It's not his best movie, probably according to pretty much everybody. He should have won for other movies. Maybe that's what Oppenheimer for Nolan is like. And in my opinion, if I were to vote, I did not see about 2 or 3 of these movies, quite honestly, in Best Picture. So first of all, I wouldn't vote, but until I watched them. But second of all, if I were to vote on the ones I watched, it would be Anatomy of a Fall. I think that picture is masterfully made. And I think over time, it will be one that can last. And I have no doubt it's going to be in the Criterion Collection. And, the people will like it and study it years and years from now. Killers of the Flower Moon may also be that way. So it's the Scorsese movie. Now, because I haven't seen three of these, that's my comment is tentative. But I would pick those over Oppenheimer. But it won. Nolan wins. Other people associated with Christopher Nolan wins. He's been making a lot of money for Hollywood over a long period of time. Good job, Nolan. And I think that's kind of what this award is overall. It did very well, as far as I remember, at the box office. And to a certain extent, Oscars do reward that sort of thing. If we go down this list, I don't know what site am I on. I don't know why it's in this order. I hope we're going to get to... I'm going to scroll down, pardon me. Yeah, it's in a mixed order. So whatever site I chose. Supporting actress, whatever you want. I was surprised by this a little bit. Was I? Do I care? I don't know. But there you go. Divine Joy Randolph. She fits in really well with that movie. And I don't know why, someone needs to explain this to me, why Alexander Payne is beloved by Hollywood. So his movie, I love his movies. I released videos all like today, Sideways. I just did one on About Schmidt. I did a director's video, but here he is helping someone win. I don't know the animated short films, sorry, but the feature films, I have some people commenting on this on my Discord. And I think, if I remember correctly, didn't like The Boy and the Heron winning. I thought this was a masterful movie, a work of supreme imagination. I don't care what you thought about the plot. I don't see movies like this, period, ever. I'm going to get on a rant here. Sorry. My face is not red from a rant. I finally got some sun yesterday. The Boy and the Heron is a masterful movie of supreme imagination that we don't get often. I think Barbie was striving for it. I think Spider-Verse was pretty good, although it was super manic for me. But I don't know these other Nimona. I don't know, and Robot Dreams. I don't know. So how can I comment on this except to say I'm glad Miyazaki won something. Now here, Anatomy of a Fall gets an award. I think a lot of people acknowledge or could acknowledge that this is quite well done, and so it won for something. Here it is winning, and I think they use the screenplay award sometimes for this. I'm not confident that the Academy voters are like going through reading all the screenplays carefully to even reading them to vote on these things. I'm glad for a couple of these, like May, December, getting in here. I'm a little struck by Past Lives being in here now as I look at it, but Anatomy of a Fall winning is good. And I think American Fiction, which I haven't seen, is probably similar. Somebody really liked it. Groups of people liked it, so they gave it an award. Now it's a mixed. We have a lot of things winning awards. So I think the movie industry is signaling that there was a diverse selection of movies last year that were quite good overall. I'd say the top 20 movies are quite good. Long term, will they be? I'm not sure, but I think so. Over time, I've said that several times on this channel in a way. Makeup and hairstyling, okay. Production design, Poor Things is winning now for its lavishness. How is Barbie not winning something? I think there's a number of people who didn't like Barbie, and now I'm analyzing the voters, who I don't know. Robert Downey Jr. wins for Oppenheimer. I thought that was not his fault, a flawed part. I didn't like the Act 3 in that movie. We can wrestle about that, but here he is winning. Gotta say, I thought De Niro was excellent, and they're not going to give him an award because he's won too many. That's what I don't like about this Oscars. Is like, well, if you won too many, we can't give you one. We need to give it to somebody else. There's a little bit of that mentality, I think, with the awards voting, and I don't think that's fair. If they were voting on quality, they would not care if someone had won 7 awards already for something. Vote on it again because it's quality for the year, and we want to signal that. And this is what I'm all about: long-term quality. I wish we would have an awards that were sort of based on that, given our best guess. So there you go. Editing. God, let me think about this. Editing. Oppenheimer was a giant challenge to edit. Killers of the Flower Moon was a giant challenge to edit. I'm tempted to say Anatomy of a Fall should win for that because that movie is subtle. It's got a lot of... You've got to know when to cut exactly right in that movie. The timing is everything in that. So I probably would have voted for that, but I didn't study the editing. It's just the way I'm thinking about it. Cinematography, yeah. Sound. I mean, once again, diversifying the awards. I realize I have not seen the movie, but I know about it. I realize that sound is a big deal in Zone of Interest. It's the kind of thing where you think Oppenheimer would win for this. Yeah. Does anybody care about these categories, by the way? I kind of do, but I wish I knew more if I'd studied this. Because I'm on the 80s, 90s binge where I'm going through all kinds of movies, getting a completist view as best I can of the 80s and 90s. And so I'm up to 1992 in my viewings. 91? 92, I can't remember. And it's fascinating to go through decade or year by year. And so here I am trying to comment on this. I think this is okay, though. Cillian Murphy wins. Fine. And best director is Nolan. What is a director? We can go into that subject matter. Do you care? I kind of care. Does a director sort of manage a gigantic crew and is the overseer of a big system or machine? Or is a director, and then a director is allowing collaboration as they shoot? Is a director someone who is involved in things from pre-production to post-production and beyond? Is a director a great visionary who puts his or her stamp on a movie his or her artistic vision, sort of a romantic, capital R, from the early 19th century romantic notion of artistry. There's many ways to think about a best director. I have never figured out how they vote, other than to say, I know that Nolan is really, really liked by a lot of people and considered a genius by a lot of people within the movie industry. Just look at their interviews and the way they talk about him. So, yeah. By the way, do you have anything to say? I'm not seeing anything in the chat yet, but I didn't invite people. I just threw this up here instantly. So what do you think about this these Oscars? Nolan wins. They're not going to give it to Scorsese because he's too old and he's won awards before. I don't know. If I were to have voted, again, it would be Anatomy of a Fall out of this list. Granted, I haven't seen Zone of Interest. And I would have voted for Sandra Hüller. I thought she was fantastic. But now you can tell my taste. I really appreciated that movie, Anatomy of a Fall, above Oppenheimer. Clearly the Academy thought something different. So, oh yeah, and there's the award. Okay, yeah. All in all, I say the same things all the time. I feel like I'm dealing with things that are big picture problems over multiple years, multiple decades. Their main problem still is that they're old. Nothing wrong with being old. I am old in the eyes of my students, middle-aged guy, but they need to promote younger people, younger visionaries, younger kinds of people, period. Nolan, a little bit older than me. Scorsese, Glazer, older than me. I don't know how old the other directors here are. Again, I said this in my other video on this. You know, the best actor guys, they're either older than me or way older than me. So I think they need to promote 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds. You know, they have a quota for race, don't they? Why not have a quota for age? I'm not for quotas necessarily, but their problem is they need to hit the younger demographic and make younger people appreciate movies more than they do, including, the question is, has this passed us by or not, the charisma of the star system. A time-tested system, at least from the, I think, going back to the 19th century, where there are actors on stage who are beloved and known, but the 20th century for sure, the charismatic star system, where Hollywood stars, I mean, their face, their appearances, and all these things signaled. The movie, and it's sort of an advertising for the movie industry. So I am concerned, not worried, but concerned, that they are not skewing down to younger people and appealing to younger people. For people like me, Tom Cruise going strong, Giamatti, Murphy, Cooper, Jodie Foster is somewhere in here, Gosling, De Niro, Downey Jr. These are people, and I think Stone, to some extent, although she's younger, I know that. Is she in her mid-30s? Emily Blunt. You know, some of these people, even America Ferrera, I think are older. Where are the young people? So, Hollywood has a problem with promoting individual stars and stars who appeal to a wide range of demographics. Essentially, the problem is getting people who look good for the camera and who a lot of people like over the demographics across the races, across the religions, across the genders. So Tom Cruise, you know, was that sort of person in the 80s all the way up to through today. Men love him, women love him. I think he's appealing to everybody, more or less, most people, most places. They're going to need somebody like that who's like 25 to 30 years old. Not just somebody, though. 25 somebodies. So if I go back to the 1980s, which I have, and looked at who was popular, who was of interest, they're way, way younger. So this is my old person, young person rant for Hollywood. The same problem is in American politics. The same problem is all over. I think probably in businesses. I think, you know, the corporate structures may be this way in certain places. So I don't understand this, and I don't see why. I don't see why this is the case. Do these movies skew younger? I think Nolan has a lot of young film bros. I know this for a fact from my channel and my Letterboxd feed. which you can subscribe to. You know, Nolan has appealed to young guys still. I have students who love Tenet. I did not like that movie at all, but they like it. They like some of his stuff from recent years. He is holding up. So there you go. But Barbie had a cross-cultural appeal too. So anyway, that's my thought. They need to skew younger. I don't know how they do that, honestly, besides the broad brushstrokes of creating a lot of different stars. A lot of different ones. What an Oscar reaction. You know, it's sort of wishy-washy, but I told you what I prefer. Anatomy of a Fall probably to win as a long-term bet. As a long-term movie, I think people could watch and get a lot out of over a span of time. But I have not seen 3 of these as a caution. So I repeat what I said at the beginning. Looking at the comments... Yeah. Thank you, The Hobbit. A couple people, one person here is a documentary fan. I am not a student of documentaries. The Iraq War one won, but you liked To Kill a Tiger. I'm going to check that one out. I don't know that one at all. So, yeah. I don't get this one about President Biden apologizing. I don't even know what that means. Yeah. Well, okay. Overall, though, I think now that I'm in past years, there have been some despicable Oscar winners. I'm not despicable, not in this moral sense. Despicable in that movie won. How in the world could that happen sense? And I think when I look at the Oscars in the last 15 years, pretty bad track record. I'm just talking about Best Picture. I think it's pretty bad. I loved Everything Everywhere All at Once, but the other ones, and I think it will last, and I think it will be influential filmmaking, maybe, has got a shot. But the other ones, some pretty bad ones. I think just bad movies won Best Picture. I don't think that was the case this year. Couple more questions here, and then I'll go. Thanks for viewing. A lot of people on here. This is great. So, have I ever made anything as a filmmaker? This is a very interesting question. Yes, if you count my YouTube videos, but no. I know that it's super challenging to make anything. Anything like a short film, very, very hard. I think the logistical challenges, the economic challenges alone are incredibly hard. The people challenges are hard. So I'm well aware of that when I criticize movies. There's another half of that was when they make a movie, and especially movies that are big budget, I think deserve scorn because they're wasting our time and they're teaching people bad artistry. So hopefully I save my fire. And I learned this from Siskel and Ebert and a bunch of others. Save your critical fire for the big budget movies that waste people's time and are teaching people. They're bad mimesis. You don't want things to imitate them, but they might. So they're teaching people bad ways of viewing, and they're just bad all overall. What was I saying? So I haven't made anything as a filmmaker, but I know it's tough. Sometimes in my videos I do comment on script writing and screenwriting. I also think about, I don't think a critic needs to be a filmmaker. I think they're two different jobs, two different subjects. I think you can be a critic of food without being a chef. I think you could be a critic of poetry and novels without having written them. I do think it's worth trying them if you're involved in those industries and talking to people who try to make them or hanging around people who try to make them. So, no, I've not made anything as a filmmaker. I am terrible with people, and period. I think so. I would not be good as a director bossing people around because I think the job is you're either a general bossing people around or you are relying on other people. I think it's a job of a persuader, or someone who has gravitas, or a persuader, either one. And I'm not interested in either one of those. I love to sit in my office alone, as I'm doing here, although I'm talking to you. Any ideas you ever had in mind? You almost went into making. No, I don't have the money. I don't think industry connections. I would love to make something that is science fictional, just to try it. But that would require a massive budget. Um, my thoughts on text to video artificial intelligence. Studios are closing film locations. What does that mean? You're saying they're creating videos out of text. So two thoughts. Okay. Artificial intelligence videos are here and they're unstoppable and they look fantastic. I saw, ChatGPT's version of creating videos. And you type into a prompt, give me a movie, or not a movie, give me a video of the 1849 gold rush. And it looks like a documentary depiction of the of course, there are no cameras back then, no motion picture cameras, 1849 gold rush. It looks really good. And it will come to pass, not a prediction, I'm sure of it, that they will be making movies out of text prompts. Like, you will sit into ChatGPT and probably be able to create a movie. Not that it's any good, but a movie. And now that you can create music out of this sort of thing, and images, and essays, maybe creative writing, although I don't think our AI is yet up. When I say AI, I know it's a pattern recognition machine. I do not think Skynet is here, nor is HAL 9000 here yet. It might come, who knows. The pattern recognition machines will create videos, okay? So movie makers will have to do one of two things, either reject this stuff or accept it. And the long-term bet is to accept them. Whether you love it or not, you're going to sit at ChatGPT, some filmmaker somewhere, not ChatGPT necessarily, but something like that, and create a video, create a scene, create CGI shots, which is what these things basically are. And that's what's going to happen. The history of movies is finding technology and adapting to it. New technology and adapting. I told you, I'm watching 80s movies through the 90s. Well, if I go back even farther, the 50s, the 20s, and you look at the advancements in the ability to present a scene, it is remarkable, camera-wise alone, lighting alone. Then you add CGI, and it's amazing. So this is, I think it's going to happen. There are negative consequences to any technology being accepted. Things that are lost. So I believe some silent movies in the 1920s have some qualities and aspects that have been lost thanks to technological change, for good or for ill. And so we will lose good things by switching somewhat to text to video, as you're asking. ChatGPT like things where you type in a prompt and it gives you a video that you put into a movie. We will lose something there for sure. So anyway, I am not for it or against it. I'm just here to say roll with the changes because they're coming. I'm also strongly for, this is a viewer thing, not a production thing. So I'm not making money for movies. I would probably say the exact opposite if I were. I'm all for releasing movies on streaming services instantly rather than staggering this, releasing them in the theater, and then getting them to streaming. I think movies are losing market share and are losing clout and prowess through not using the greatest distribution system in the history of the world, which is the internet. In 1998, 7 or 8, I was downloading videos in my college, downloading movies before they came out in my college dorm. So I do not recommend that. I do not do that anymore. I stopped doing that around that time. But this has been, what the heck was 26 years of being able to download movies for free, illegally, but download full movies and watch them in the comfort of your home. And yet Hollywood has not adapted to that. That is not good for them, in my strong opinion. Some people agree with that, like David Fincher. Others do not, like pretty much everybody else, like Nolan. But Nolan is right. Analog film, reel film, 70 millimeter film does look better, a lot better than digital. Okay, but most of us are poor, like me, and not in a place in time where we can access film. So, instant streaming is best. I did not watch Stalingrad. What is that? What am I thinking of that? I don't know what that is. Thank you, everyone. These are great compliments. I appreciate it. Yeah, I would have. Okay, there's a comment here. I would have loved to see more love for Killers of the Flower Moon. Yes, I that was an achievement. I thought it was a great movie. I said in my review, I thought it was one of the best of the decade. I mean, here we are 6 years before the end of the decade. I think it is. I don't see how it's not. It's a really interesting. It maneuvered to me. Killers of the Flower Moon maneuvered through culture war stuff. I can't stand culture war stuff in America. Okay, so I won't rant about that. But it maneuvered through that really well to tell a story about a place and time that was relevant. That if the culture war ended today, if no one cared about certain issues, that movie would still abide. I don't think it was as culture war heavy, although it was released in a place and time where some of the stuff in it would be accepted. But I think it was an important story. And it was really well done. For 3.5 hours, it kept my attention. Would I have been upset if Maestro won? Okay, so let's look at this. You're baiting me. Stop it. Good job baiting me. If I looked at this Best Picture list and I go, okay, if you want to annoy everybody or pick a movie that is not good, like a couple of others that have won in the past years. I won't say Green Book, but I just did say it. A couple of others like that. I don't think they're very good in a lot of ways. And we can argue about what good means, by the way. But anyway, yeah, Maestro winning. It had some things going for it. It was entertaining in some stretches. It was crisp cinematography, but it had some problems, I thought. And Barbie winning would have been kind of like that. I don't think anybody would have voted for Barbie over any of this stuff, but had Barbie won, I mean, you know, that would have been like, and is there a movie like Barbie that has one ever? I don't know. See, to win, you need something sentimental and politically acceptable. That for something not great to win, you need something sentimental, nostalgic, and politically correct. So I'm not really seeing that here. American Fiction, I haven't seen it, is biting. The Holdovers would be that movie, maybe. But it wasn't a bad movie. I thought. So that's the history of the Oscars. Sentimental, nostalgic, drama, politically correct. Okay, a recipe for possibly winning, even if you're not so hot. That goes way that one goes way back, maybe to the beginning, if I want to argue that. I did Crash have that? I think Crash had that. You know, Crash. A bunch of others. We can go through the Oscars. You know, the Cannes winners, the Palme d'Or, pardon my pronunciation, French. Palme d'Or winners tend to be a little more biting, a little bit more cutting edge, a little bit more avant-garde. I think if that's what your taste goes, you should look at those winners. They're going to be hit or miss, but some of them are really good. You go way back. They did pretty well at predicting long-term success. Maybe a little bit better than maybe a lot better than the Oscars. I'll be saying that for the next 20 years on this channel. You know. Anyway. John Cena was naked? Okay, I did not know that. Why? Poor Things had no shot. Now, yeah, they did not. They would never, ever go for Poor Things. And Barbie was just too weird. We will do, okay, I will end on one question. What are your all-time favorite movies? Because that happens sometimes where we get new people coming in, and I answer that question for the 10th time, and I don't mind answering it at all. I'm not saying that because I mind it. There was something else I wanted to address here. These are very good observations. I don't have way too early Oscar predictions because I don't know what's coming. I mean, I know it's coming out. I complained about it before. There are lots of 2s and 3s. Twister 2. I know it's called Twisters. All kinds of movies that are 2s and 3s. I can't imagine many of these have a shot. So therefore, you know, I don't know. That's a good question, but we're way too early. Will Dune make it? Will Dune Part 2 make it? I think we'll make it for a couple things. But we'll even make the cinematography category. It could, but it's probably too early in the year. The curse of the Oscars is you have to release them it's recency bias. You release them near the end of the year rather than the beginning because people remember things that came out at the end of the year rather than at the beginning. It's very difficult to have a movie win if it's at the end of the year. All right. There was something else. All right. Let's go to Letterboxd. Follow me there if you're here already. There's a lot of people here. This is great. A lot of people interested in the subject matter. You're reminding me to put out a short today if I have time. Probably don't. Follow me on Letterboxd. All-time favorite movies. You know, if you go to my Letterboxd, where is it at on this page? My lists. I make a lot of lists. I curate them for people like you. I will have a best movies of the 90s. There's a secret and private. I'm making this as I go. I will release this one day, probably in a year. So it'll take a year, at least. Movies I recommend to everybody. That's what I'm thinking of various people who aren't cinephiles necessarily, but I think they would like these movies. They're kind of between cinephilia and not. Which I'm all for everything. I love every movie. 500 favorite movies, and counting is what you're up for. Hannah, who's asking this question. These are roughly in order, not quite. Once you get past number 100, I feel like the order is so jumbled, I have no idea. But I did try to get these right. These are not necessarily recommendations for you. These are ones I have really gotten a lot out of as I've watched them a couple times or studied them a lot. So I don't like this list too because I feel like I am biased towards the sadder dramatic fare rather than the more comedic, let's say, happy ending, lighter fare, joy of life fare that I think is I prefer. Say I prefer that. So over the time, and awards have been given to the sadder dramatic fare, as we said, rather than the happier comedic fare. So I'm probably biased in that way. I'm biased towards the things I like, the subject matters I am interested in. Nevertheless, here you go. Oh, there's Groundhog Day, Purple Rose, Playtime, Ratatouille. Her, arguably. Some of these are a little bit Spinal Tap, a little peppier. But there you go. I haven't changed these much either. I'm looking for films that will break into this top 50, and I'm sure I'll come across a few. They're just hard. Once you watch more movies, it's harder and harder to find these. And this is an eclectic list. Do I have Idiocracy up this high? And Office Space. That was a life-changing movie for me, Office Space. Idiocracy, I think, is an amazing film in a lot of ways, but it's not a traditional film at all. I did a video on that, but I probably should explain that a little bit further. Boy and the Heron, I put that way up there. I'm not sure about that. Maybe I should drop that. But you can check out this list. My comment on this is Rashomon is still way up there because I feel like that movie hits pretty much everything important in the 20th century. From nuclear threats of nuclear destruction, World War II, ethics, the fuzziness of ethics, the changes in philosophy, the different philosophical schools that emerge and are in fashion all over the place. But I really particularly mean the West, Europe, America. And I think Kurosawa was making a film about film. It's a meditation on what film art is, what it can do. And I think he's talking about Japan post World War II. I mean, there's 100 things I could talk about with that movie alone. And when I move across this list, it goes this way for you. I feel the same way about these movies. They're hitting on, and that's probably my bias. What is a good movie to me? It's very, very, very well made. It's memorable and hypnotic to me. All the great things that great movies do, but it's also connecting to real-world topics, and I think a number of scholars across a number of disciplines could write about it and get a lot out of it. It's a guess on my part to say that, but I think so. Purple Rose of Cairo, I've watched probably now 20 times. Grizzly Man, probably 10 times. They watch differently every time, and you find new things in them that connect to the old things you knew. You know, that's also true of a lot of these movies, maybe all of them. So you're free to like whatever you like. I mean, that's great. I just feel like these movies to me are, I could watch them 100 ways, different ways, say 100 different, wildly different things about them, and there would still be more to see, and more to hear, and more to learn. Those tend to be my reasons for liking things. I tend to be, not always, but tend to be. All right. Did not plan to come on here, watch my video on Sideways. I released it today. I shouldn't release a live stream that competes with it, but oh well, who cares? So people will find that video if they're searching for it. Thanks for this. Oscars, I guess a decent job. Nolan wins. I've been watching Nolan since Memento. I remember when Memento came out, a lot of my friends, and granted this was when we were, was this 98, 2000? You know, I was 18 to 22 years old, somewhere in there, I think. And like, it was like the reaction to Pulp Fiction, which was 4 or 5 years earlier. You gotta watch this. This is really, I can't believe it. It's mind-blowing, blah, 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 like Memento. So I saw Batman Begins in the theater. Remember, that's significant. That's interesting. Batman, I mean, really different from the Batman movies that had come out before. Fascinating in a lot of ways. But people did not know Nolan then very well. So in a way, I've grown up with him. And in a way, he and Christian Bale are kind of like, and I don't really mean this, but they're kind of like older brother figures. I mean, in the way they relate to me in terms of their age and me admiring things that they've done. So here he finally wins after 25, 30 years. So good job. That's what I have to say. Good job, Nolan. Anyway, thanks so much for everything. Appreciate your participation in your chat and all that stuff. Thanks for the support of this channel. Gotta go. See you later.